string with stars out in the campfire glow. Girl, that don't even come close to the way that it feels when you lean in and kiss me. The way that...
All right, welcome everybody. If you would grab a seat. We've also got a lot of seats up front. Everybody seems to be sitting in the back. Come on up. We got seats in the front row. We're going to be streaming. They're free. We're not charging? I thought you were charging. You're not taking up collections? Okay, no more of that. All right, so come on up to the front if you can. It'll look better on camera as we're streaming out to the community so that those who couldn't make it tonight can watch later. All right. Let's see. There's Krish. Come on up, Krish. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How many of you first time to visit the Patriot Academy campus? Oh, wow. Check it out. Welcome. We're thrilled to have you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming. And everybody be ready to ask your toughest questions of the candidates that have shown up. This is Krish Dunham. He runs the Patriot Institute here at Patriot Academy. So he has students from all over the nation that have come to live here for a full year and learn under, mostly Krish. I come once in a while and share, but Krish, tell them a little bit about the Institute and why the scholars are hosting tonight and not you and me.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Our Institute, I think you should have a sheet of paper that gives you a little snapshot of it. It is a 9-month program where we have about 25 of them now from all over the nation. They come and study some incredible things all the way from biblical citizenship, which Rick authored, America's biblical history, founding fathers, the men who built America, frontiersmen onwards. We do moral philosophies, Renaissance thinkers, apologetics, worldviews, and then in addition, some books that we go through. So it's literally master's level stuff given to people, and I've had about a 4-decade-long journey traipsing the globe, amassing this information. Now, Rick and I go way back, and so when he asked me to join him in this endeavor, I thought it would be worthwhile. The reason you have these bright minds hosting you today is this is just my joy as a teacher, that I will put them up against anybody on 3 levels. The ability to understand the intricacies of the legislative process that many people who even after election do not understand, these people will run circles around them to understand the process. So they are experts at that. Beyond experts, I think they can teach classes on that. Second, commitment to both have the dignity of labor daily, working on the campus, off campus, and the discipline in education. And third, and most importantly, a love for the Lord our God, the one who allows us to have this part and this path. And tied very closely into that is love for this amazing country that I came to as an immigrant 40 years ago and cannot believe my good fortune that I, who landed here with $9, gets to teach American history to American kids. So before they come up, just applaud them. I will put them up against anybody in the world. So they are very, very smart kids, and that's why Rick talks for a living about how to save America. I talk to people who think America is beyond saving, and between the two of us, we are salespeople, so because we talk, we chose them to act. So.
Thank you, Krish. Y'all give Krish a hand. Thank you very much, man. Krish and Anila have been all over the world. He, for 30 years, was Zig Ziglar's international spokesman, so traveled the world with Zig, and we're just blessed here in Kendall County for him to come and move here and be willing to be a part of what we're doing. So we're going to turn it over to the students, and basically what we're going to do tonight, we invited all the Kendall County candidates in any contested race. The ones that show up are the ones that get to speak. We're not taking surrogate speakers or any of that. We also invited the Gillespie County Judge race. That's the only big contested one in Gillespie County. Even though we're not in Gillespie County, we can almost throw a rock into Gillespie County from here. So we're very, very close, and definitely what happens in Gillespie affects us here in Constitution City at the Patriot Academy and affects Kendall County as well. And so you're going to hear from one of the candidates for county judge did choose to come tonight and be a part of this. And then we have, I think, at least one candidate in each of the races and then a couple of candidates in some of them. So what we're going to do is each candidate will get to do opening remarks, and then we'll take questions from the panel. We've got a different set of students for each race that'll be the panel. So they've got some questions that they put together. And then if you want to ask a question, just go to this back microphone right here at this podium. And if there's a line, great. We'll take questions as long as we have time and don't need to get to another race. And then the candidates will get a chance to do closing remarks. And so to host us and MC us tonight, would you please welcome one of our Patriot Academy scholars, Elena Herzog.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Welcome, everyone, to our candidate forum. Thank you for being here. It's my pleasure to introduce to you this evening. We will have two moderators, beginning our first for the county judge race of Gillespie County. Please welcome up Zach Warsack and Ruth Stepp. And now, one of the two candidates for county judge of Gillespie County we have with us tonight. Please help me welcome a great friend, Miss Esther Schneider.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, we love Patriot Academy, and I first of all, I want to say, Rick and Kara, and where did he go, Chris? Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight and for putting this on. And I want to, before I get into my comments, I do want to tell you all something. When I got into this race, it was, I didn't sign up to do this. It's self-preservation for our county and our residents who can't speak. But I'm blessed that I don't need the salary of the judge's position. So what I would like to do is take a portion of that salary and create a scholarship for our kids to come and work in the county government, so they know what county government's about, that they can use those skills to understand how government works. And I'm hoping that a lot of your students will participate in this program. Because it is, they don't know what it's like to work in county government unless you've been there. And to put into practice what you've learned here and actually make it work and see why you can make a difference in your community. So I hope that we'll get the opportunity to do that. I am originally from Las Vegas. All my family's from Texas, and I am a Red Raider. My husband, when he retired, I had to live in Indiana for 13 years, but he said, "Where do you want to go?" And I go, "Texas, go back to Texas." I spent all my summers here as a child. So when we did move back, it was like coming home again. It was the warm, beautiful people. It was the yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you, hold the door. I miss that, okay? So we basically lived in Hays County, and that's where we knew Rick and Kara to begin with. So it was great when they decided, oh, I got 30 seconds, all right, better hurry up. My opponent decided not to come tonight because this is the belly of red and he's the belly of blue. One of the young ladies said, he's a dino. I am a conservative. I'm running to make our county better and to fix a lot of the things. Several of you in here know the battery project. So I was the one that helped kill that along with Bruce Knightsky in the back in Gillespie County. So I'll end with that and you can ask questions.
Thank you very much. For the first question, I'd like to ask you, what do you see as the chief issue in Gillespie County, and how do you plan on addressing that?
We have several chief issues that kind of roll up into one big one, and that is a lack of leadership. We have a current judge who fancies himself an attorney and wants to be a judge. That's only 10% of the job. The other 90% is running the county. It's everyday functions. And we've got a treasurer, while she's an elected official, has not been doing her job. We have not reconciled our monthly budgets in 2 years. We've not had an annual reconciliation, and therefore we've not had any audits. That is putting our federal grants and state grants in jeopardy. Those are law grants for our law enforcement and for, I just got the little high sign, I gotta hurry up. Several different departments. I'm telling you, I love it. It's good. It keeps me fast, right? But we have a lot of issues. And the battery issue, our county engineer approved it without any authority. So those are our big top issues right now, but there's a lot more little ones. But we have a great county, and I want to see that it stays strong and stays rural.
Thank you so much for your answer to that question. Our next question, you've already touched on this topic, I believe, twice. So can you tell us a little bit more about your fight against the lithium battery storage facility near the river?
So I found out shortly after the Moss Landing fire that one of these facilities was planned for Gillespie County. I called my commissioner. He said it was going to be great. We're going to get a new brush truck and a new fire truck. My response was, over my dead body. And God gave me some true talents of working in governmental affairs. And in my prior life, you hired me to kill something or to get it passed. So I know the ins and outs of how government works, and I put those skills to work. I found people like Bruce Knightsky, who's an engineer. We went together, worked on this stuff, looked at the code and said, we don't need the legislature, we don't need the feds, it's all local control. Since then, like Jennifer McCall can attest and so can Chad Carpenter, the code to busting the batteries is in the fire code, the electrical code, and in OSHA.
Thank you very much for that
They're
answer.
making me talk fast.
If anyone would like to ask any questions, you're more than welcome to go to the back mic and line up.
Ben Franklin's coming.
I know, I saw that. I was like, oh no, the first one.
Did you read the declaration on your way in? It's on the wall.
No, I did not. I was saying I would like to be in Chris's class.
Okay, I guess it's to me. When we were in some of these paintings up here and we were working on the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, one of many reasons we came over to this country was to get away from taxation without representation. There were numerous other things like that, and so we created a representative form of government, and then we elected people like our neighbors and our friends to go represent us. And it didn't take too long until those representatives, the power went to their head and their ability to tax went to their head. And it has gotten so bad recently that the state of Texas said you can't raise taxes beyond a certain point without going to the voters. And so I think that one of the issues we have is since we went from trusting our elected officials to taxing us, and they have a limit on the level they can tax, then behold, they came up with a very creative way to get more money without asking us to vote on it. And they are called certificates of obligation, and they are called public finance corporations, PFCs. And any city or county government in Texas can form one of these and put that debt on the taxpayer without having a vote or any input, and they can blow right by the limit that was placed on them. So where do you stand on I just lost all my words, the CO and the PFCs?
I can't speak in great detail, but what I can tell you is that one of the issues that we've just faced in our county, along with all the others, is the valuation increase that was across the board when we talk about property taxes. That limit is 3.5%. However, we also need to have transparency. When a government decides that they need to do this, they need to open it up to the public. They need to have the public forums to get that input, and they better give a really good reasoning for doing it. And most of the times, it's because they've mismanaged their money. Gillespie County had a $37 million surplus. In less than 2 years, it's down to $24 million. So they've shown a serious inclination not to be responsible with money. So the first person that came to me and said they wanted to do this, you better have a really good explanation as to why you're going to do it.
Thank you for that answer. We have another audience member that would like to ask a question.
Uh-oh, it's another student.
Oh, okay, get it. That works. Hi, I'm Jack. I'm one of the Patriot Institute students here.
Hello,
and my,
Jack.
Hello. And my question is, what would you do better as a judge than the current judge we have right now?
Everything.
Everything.
I hate to say that, but again, going back to when you spend 100% of your time on 10% of the job duties, a lot of things go bad. And right now, the 90% in our county has been put on autopilot. And it goes back to the battery facility, that how is it that a county engineer is allowed to make this decision and override the law? No government official can overrule the law. They can't do that. It's illegal. We also know that there are probably things like non-disclosure agreements that were signed. You can't do that either. Pick a topic in that county, and I'm going to tell you it's probably wrong and needs attention. We have good employees. And I'll give you another example. Payroll, they're still doing payroll by hand, but the county is paying for a software program and licensing that they aren't even using.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer. Another question we have is, what are your thoughts about Constitution City and that whole process?
I love it. And let me just say, one of the things that drives me crazy, and we watched it with the CD21 candidates, nearly every single one of them that came to our candidate forum in December said we live in a democracy. That is so offensive to me. We live in a constitutional republic. So any opportunity we have to live by our Constitution is a prime example of something great to me. It is what is wrong with our country, that our government has gotten too big, it's gotten too expensive, and it no longer governs for the people, it governs for those that serve themselves. So bring it on.
All right, audience members, do we have any more questions before we let Miss Esther give her closing remarks? Go ahead and state your name and your question, please.
Jeff Morris. You're going to have a whole minute to do this. I've been told that the county judge is basically the CEO of the county. Can you, in a minute, kind of give an idea, what it is a county judge really does? You're saying 10% is doing judge kind of things. What else would you be doing?
Well, let's talk about the judge portion of it, because a lot of people have said you're not an attorney. You don't need to be an attorney because the judicial issues you're dealing with are disputes from the JP courts. They're probate issues, and they are not custody issues, but something similar. But the issues really are, the county judge is the chief budget officer for the county, and together with the county commission, they oversee the budget. But they also are responsible for day-to-day activity, such as road projects, bridges, human resources. Every function you can think of that happens in the county, they oversee that. And our county judge right now does not believe that his employees are direct reports. I think that's a little odd. And it goes against the local government code. When you go back and you look and you see what the job description is for the county judge and the county commissioners, they do run everything. And that's not what's happening in Gillespie County. I hope Jennifer and Chad have a better answer for what's happening in your county.
Thank you very much, ma'am. You now have 1 minute for your closing remark.
I, again, greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, and I'm sorry that my opponent is not here, because I believe people need to see a good comparison contrast between the two candidates. And it really doesn't make me work harder as a candidate to not have an opponent, to have those questions and the feedback from the public. So I welcome that, and it says a lot that you all are here to hear what we had to say, and he didn't bother to show up. So, I'm going to ask for your vote. How many are in here from Gillespie County? Okay, good. May I have your vote, please? But thank you again tonight for coming and making the time. And I want to say thank you to the students and to Rick and Kara and everyone here for taking the time to do this. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Schneider, for your time. Thank you, panelists and audience, for your questions. Next up, we have Lorelei O'Donnell, and Christian Bear. Please welcome them up. And now please help me welcome up one of the candidates for precinct chair, Janessa Pogue.
Thank you very much. Whoa, it's really on now. Thank you all so much for coming out for this candidate forum. Thank you to Patriot Academy for the venue and for the Patriot Institute Scholars for hosting us out here. And I particularly thank you for inviting the precinct chair race to this forum. That is not often invited to a candidate forum in my experience, and so I appreciate being here. I'll also join with my esteemed colleague from Gillespie County in saying my opponent, I only have one. She was not able to come here as far as I know, so I also regret that, as a comparison is what a candidate forum is for. So I hope that she and I will have a chance to stand side by side at one point and offer comparison candidate forum at some time in the future. My name is Janessa Pogue. I'm running for precinct, precinct 4050, and which stretches, we are in the top northwest corner here near Hidden Springs. It goes all the way to Alamo Springs Ranch, down south past Falling Water. The western border is Highway 97, it takes in the town of Comfort and goes far south as Apache Springs, just on the other side of I-10. I am running for precinct chair because it is my passion to empower the next generation of leaders. It is my calling to educate and activate informed voters, and it is my mission to give a strong support to county leaders. I come from a background of political activism in my family. I've held a number of local positions across multiple states, including precinct chair, and I am passionate about local government because I see it as the most powerful and impactful government that affects each and every one of our lives. For those of you who don't know, a precinct chair is, I like to say, one step higher on the representative ladder than John Smith voter. And a precinct chair represents their voters in their precinct to the Republican Party, in this case, the Kendall County Republican Party. And then the votes from the precinct chairs influence not only the Kendall County Republican Party and its associated members and groups, but the state Texas Republican Party, which then influences the National Republican Party, which also influences the Texas state legislature and, in turn, the federal legislature. So even though it's one step up above John Smith voter, it is a powerful position in that its influence is far-reaching. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Pogue. One step above John Smith voter, I would say that is one step above me. My first question, as I'm sure you are aware, is that the precinct chair will assist in identifying, registering, and helping to get out the vote. So in this county, how do you plan to identify voters, register, and get out the vote?
Excellent question. I have experience using a technology that has been recently developed in the last few years called Numenar. It's an app. Now, don't freak out because I did the first time I heard it, but it's AI driven so that it tracks how people voted in the last few elections, their general or the primary election. And you can actually go very efficiently door knock on people's doors. You can go straight to Republican doors or straight to Democrat doors or independent or conservative or whatever party you want to choose, because that particular app sorts it out really well and you don't waste as much time. So I've used that and would intend to use that again. In fact, I've got it set up for a door knocking thing that I'm going to do this Sunday for my race. And as beyond that, it's attending meet and greets. It's joining clubs. I'm currently part of the Kendall County Republican Club as the second vice president of membership. That's allowed me to meet a ton of people and just get out in the community, go to social events, political or not, and just go out and shake hands. And registering people to vote, that's getting them the resources and the network they're looking for and helping in elections.
Thank you so much. My question for you is, what are you going to do that is unique compared to the other precinct chairs?
That is an excellent question. Well, I say that my uniqueness stands from the fact that I'm under 60 years old, and I'm sorry, that's just it. That has opened more doors for me than anything else about me. I'm not particularly special except that I'm young, and that is a huge, huge asset because we need young people in politics. We need them in the Republican Party. We need them in the Democrat Party, although I would prefer more in the Republican Party. And we need them in politics. They are the next generation. That is my passion, my power of uniqueness, if there was, is that I can and have a proven track record of activating young people across multiple states. I have worked in Oregon and in Idaho and now in Texas, activating lots of young people on initiatives and campaigns that actually change that state's history as well as that county's history in a positive, conservative outlook. And so that is my uniqueness, and it's also something I've actually done well.
Thank you so much for that detailed answer, ma'am. At this time, I would like to ask if there are questions from the audience, and if so, would you please state your name and your question for the candidate?
Hello, my name is Hannah Soy. Thank you, Ms. Pogue, for being here today. My question for you is, where do you draw the line between your party unity and your personal conviction?
Thank you very much for that question. Would you flesh that out a little bit? Give us more background on that question.
Yes. Where do you kind of draw the line when your party is giving you advice on something or is advising you to make a decision and you see that there's a better option? Where do you kind of see the difference, and when do you make that decision to not necessarily follow their advice and do what's better for the people?
Thank you. Great question. If you go to the Kendall County Republican Party website, you can read their bylaws. It's 5 pages long, maybe 6. And I have read through that multiple times. Thankfully, as it should, there's nothing in the bylaws for the Kendall County Republican Party that is morality based. It's basically just business. This person is this person, this role does this, this is how you vote and how you get things done. So as far as what I'm obligated to follow as a member of the Republican Party and as a precinct chair, should I be elected to do that, there isn't anything that would go against my personal convictions as a strong, devoted Christian and a conservative, because I align with the bylaws of the Kendall County Republican Party. Now, we all know backdoor politics happens. That's one of the loves and the joys of being in politics. Not my favorite thing, but it happens. So as far as if I was asked to make a moral decision that separates the party lines from what I personally am convicted to do, I cannot stand before my Lord and Savior and say I went with the party. I will absolutely go with my personal conviction, and I will also take into effect what my precinct voters would choose me to vote that way because I represent them.
Ms. Pogue, I have to jump in here. What kind of neurotic disease do you have to read those rules not once but twice? Like, was that so you would go to sleep that night? What?
If it had been 7 pages, I would have been, put to sleep.
Thank you, Ms. Pogue. Are there other further? Okay, would you please state your name and your question for the candidate?
Can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for stepping up to run for precinct chair. I don't think that our community in Kendall County recognizes this position and the value and the deep depth that you could have in actually forming the party. And I'm very passionate about this because I tried to enter the party here in Kendall County and pretty much was told, nah, I don't think so. I didn't do it as an elected official, I did it as a citizen. So I ask you, how are you going to engage all of us that have been left behind? We're sitting out in the community. I have never personally spoken to my precinct chair. He's never held a meeting and notified me of it for me to attend. And as far as I know, y'all don't even have a place to meet. So I've already addressed that with your chairman, your newly appointed to be elected chairman.
Thank you for your question. It's an excellent question, and a place where there's a hole, a black hole, a need that needs to be filled. And I believe the energy and the advocacy that I can bring to your position can help fill that need 100%. I can find a venue that we can meet at. That shouldn't be that hard. And I know how to get on social media and send out emails. And I think that could be remedied by just some good creative effort and some teamwork, which I know how to rally. So as far as being precinct chair, I would pledge to hold regular meetings, try to meet with as many of my precinct voters as would come out, and connect with them. Currently, I stand as the second vice president membership of the Kendall County Republican Club, and I can get you connected and a part of that member tonight if you want to. I actually just spoke with somebody else who wanted to join, and that's a good step. That's how I actually got involved here first, because I didn't get to be in the party at first either. So I joined the club, and that gives more open doors. So I can actually get you better connected tonight, but I can open more doors as a precinct chair because I know how to. So I appreciate your question.
I need to state my name. I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. I forgot to do it at the beginning. Denise Deaver, D-E-V-E-R. And I was a member of the club, and I walked away because they didn't like what I stood for. And a lot of it had to do with my moral standings as far as what is the right thing to do for the citizens and letting them have full transparency and not. Thank you.
Thank you. And can I chat with you later? Because I'd love to hear more on that story.
Thank you for that answer and that question. Are there further questions? Please state your name and your question for the candidate.
Dr. Benjamin Franklin, and
with much fear and trepidation do I take this question.
there you go. Human nature has not changed over thousands of years. Since the Garden of Eden, human nature doesn't change, and it's not going to change. And when you look up at these works of art around the room, and we all look like we're all getting along and everybody's happy, we were constantly at each other's throats. We were torn into different camps and fought hard over many different things, but yet you still see us coming together on what was most important. That division still exists even at the precinct level and within the Republican Party. Do you have any ideas on how to create unity? Because we've got people in the precincts that don't even want to be in the same room together, but we got to get some unity starting at the precinct level. Do you have any ideas for that?
Thank you. That is a very full and loaded question. I appreciate that. I wish we all had an opportunity to answer that question, because unity is much more important than diversity because unity actually brings us together. I think unity starts with relationships. You can't be unified with anybody you don't know. And so it starts with creating relationships with your neighbors, with the groups that you're part of, with your social media network, although that one is more broad spread, but it is not as a personal touch. A personal relationship is where that relationship is really built. So unity is built by focusing on relationships, and that is built by focusing on grace and forgiveness and a lot of just let each other be each other, but get to know each other without judgment as much as possible, without bringing baggage into the relationship. As precinct chair, it would be my mission to both educate on the issues, to inform people on the issues, and in your place, I'm sure you can appreciate, Mr. Franklin, educating on what makes us a great country, what brings us together, what founded us in the first place. I'm a lifetime Constitution coach. I'm aware of our values and our founding principles. I would want to make a focus of educating that, maybe using Patriot Academy curriculum to do so. It's really awesome. And using that to educate voters and then building relationships through that education. Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Pogue, for coming out. You have 1 minute to give a closing address to the audience.
Thank you all. And again, thank you for coming out. I appreciate your time and listening to me. I ask for your vote. If you live in Precinct 4050, I ask your vote for Janessa Pogue for Precinct Chair. If you don't live in Precinct 4050, because I understand it's a large area, but not super large, if you know somebody in Precinct 4050, please pass on my name, because I am relatively new in the area, but I am experienced and I'm passionate, and I think I would do a really well job and bring some new energy to this particular role in this particular county and give support to our leaders by empowering the next generation. These people over here, this is a great example of that, and by educating and activating informed voters in our county. So I appreciate you coming here and listening to me, and I hope that you all are safe on your way home tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Pogue, and thank you to our panelists. For our next race, please help me welcome up panelists Emma Sager and Sam Barnett. And now please help me welcome up one of the candidates for County Treasurer, Suzanne Presley. Panelists, take it away.
Thank you so much for coming. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself and give us some opening remarks.
Hi, I'm Susie Presley, and I'm running for the treasurer position in Kendall County. A lot of you guys probably don't know who I am, but we moved here in 2019, and we've been happy here to get away from the craziness of California, but originally I am from Oregon. I am a small town country girl, and maybe I don't look like it today, but yeah, I get down and dirty with everything around the farm and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not a politician, as you can tell, but I'm here to try to make a change for Kendall County. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for coming here tonight.
Hey, wait, guys, do we give extra points?
Maybe so. Maybe.
No, it's fine.
Our first question for tonight is, what specific county programs or administrative mandates have grown too quickly? And where would you identify opportunities for immediate spending reductions as county treasurer?
Well, for one, that's my mission. I would like to actually make a constitutional amendment and remove the treasury position because it is redundant. And a lot of the tasks can be reallocated into other things that are already there and remove $400,000 for the 4-year term for the taxpayer. So that's one, but there's a lot of fat in the whole county. There are secretaries for secretaries at this point. So I do see a lot of things that need to happen, and I hope that me doing this maybe sparks more to analyze the whole county.
Awesome, thank you so much. And as I ask the next question, if there's any audience members that want to ask a question, go ahead and line up at the back mic. My question for you is, the main part of your role is to handle all of the funds and all the things that come into the county. So what would you say are some of the guiding principles that you will use to help you make those decisions and help you do that, fulfill that job role?
I want to make sure everything's efficient. There's a clear way of things and how they're handled. I do think that they need to be more streamlined. There's a lot of things like online for transparency for everybody to see that are not too clear. So, I mean, we're in 2026. We should be using more programs that make things easier for everybody to understand when they are looking at this stuff. So, yeah, you guys.
Alrighty, we will now move into questions from the audience. Please state your name and then go ahead and ask your question.
Hello there. My name is Avery Reese. I'm one of the scholars here at Patriot Academy. My question is, you were talking about how there is a specific manner in which the role that you're running the race for should be fulfilled. What exactly does that entail?
I mean, what am I going to be doing, or is my plan? Can you?
A little bit of both, yes.
Okay, so the plan is to speak to a representative and then go to the legislator and then to get it on the ballot for you guys to vote. And you guys get to decide if you want to keep the treasury position. So my job would be to do that. But in the meantime, obviously looking at all the accounts to make sure that we are in the best investment accounts, make sure everything is running smoothly as it is until, and obviously see how we are taking these tasks and moving them to all the others that are currently in right now.
Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, my name is Aiden Manley. I just had a quick question for clarification. So you said you were going to be proposing to remove the treasurer. When you said that the tasks kind of overlap from other positions, Can you explain what other positions cover those tasks and what exact tasks you'll be doing that are?
Okay, so first, obviously, is the tax collector, and then it goes to the auditor, and then it goes down to the commissioner's court votes on everything, then the auditor looks at everything, and then I basically run the money to the bank and sign the checks for the approved stuff that it's already gone through, the approvals from the commissioner's court and the judge. So what was the rest of the question?
Who's going to be taking that position?
Oh, that would be reallocated. There's actually 30 counties in Texas currently that don't have a treasurer's position, and they are running actually very smoothly. We just actually called Galveston County earlier this morning, and we asked them how it was going because they are the last one that was to remove the treasurer position, which was in, I think it was 2024, or yeah, I think it was 2024 that has removed it, and they said everything's great, everything was running the way it should be. So there has been no problems with removing it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Wendy Muller, and I actually have two questions. One, I guess just for clarification, you're running so you can eliminate the position?
Yes. Yes, I am. Because we got to save money somehow, right? And if we don't stand up and physically do it, then, where are we? I understand that there are positions that we need, but there's a lot that we don't need. So I think we need to look at all of that within the county because our taxes are going way too high. And we got to stop it somehow, right? And then on top of that, I was going to wait till the end, but I'm not going to take a pay until this happens. So I'm actually going to sign the form, and I'm going to refuse all pay until this happens. So I just want to let you know that I'm trying to actively make a change here. And I hope that there's other people that'll take suit. So.
Okay, my second question is, what is your previous experience that would make you successful in doing this?
We have been small business owners for probably, I think it's about 14 years now. And the first part of, since 2023, we had a landscape company, and I would handle the books. I would do all the paperwork, pay the employees, file the taxes and all that stuff. So balancing budgets and looking over that stuff, I'm very familiar with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Suzanne, for coming here tonight. Would you just inform us what your former job was before you came here? And also, if you are working to eliminate the Treasury, what will you be doing after that? Like, how long do you think that will take, and what else are you going to be doing?
So previously I was a landscaper, and I actually did a lot of the work too. So yes, I was the secretary, and I was the manual labor. But yeah, I worked hand in hand with the landscape design, read the skid steers. I did all that stuff. So that was my job. We stopped doing that in 2023, and my husband's taken over and just been a baseball program. So we have 2 acres in our backyard that he does that, and obviously I take help with the books and still currently. So we have that. And then I figure once this gets voted out, hopefully it does, hopefully you guys decide that, I would say my job would be done because, what else would I be needed for? I don't know.
That's wonderful. Thank you. When did you see this become a problem, and why did you want to take this role to eliminate it?
Well, let's say 2020, our taxes went up so much more after 2020. And it just felt like I wanted to have some sort of help with trying to reduce that. Because there's so many people that are here that their taxes have gone up just like ours, and they have more property than we have. So I can only imagine how high they've gotten. So that's kind of where I'm just like, okay, this is a position I can come into and it's easily removed. And that's what I want to do.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Are you a descendant of Kay Bailey Hutchinson?
No.
Are you aware that she did this at the state level? She ran for state treasurer before she was U.S. Senator, and she eliminated the office.
I had no idea.
So are you planning to run for U.S. Senator after you abolish this office?
You know, maybe, you know, maybe it'll give you the confidence to go further.
Alrighty, next question.
Hi, my name is Mark Cruz, and we had corresponded recently. But what I found fascinating was, and I don't think you've gone far enough or deep enough into it, is all of the counties that have dropped their treasurers are similar or much larger than we are. And so could you kind of explain that so people can realize it's not just these little small counties where it may not matter and another person can do it in 10 minutes. These are huge counties, and that there's systems already in place. You don't have to run and pick up the deposit anymore. It's being done automatically.
Right. Yeah, actually, the big one is El Paso. El Paso doesn't have a treasurer. Galveston County, I have a whole list over there, but the big one is El Paso. I mean, that's, gosh, over 1 million, way more than that, I'm sure. But yeah, so if I ever needed to help have any guidance from these other counties, it would be very easy to contact them and find out how they did things and how they gave everybody else the tasks that we would normally have. Because honestly, signing checks and running to the bank is a lot of it, you know, and looking over the balance sheets and, you know, making sure everything lines up. You know, it seems to be pretty simple.
My question is, what is your annual budget in the county, and how would you eliminate the treasurer's position and empower the auditor to take over that? How many people would you need to accomplish that task?
I mean, the guidance, probably the commissioner's court and the judge, and everybody around is probably going to be helping with everything, because I'm not going to just be doing things solely on myself. The balance or the budget, I mean, that's usually just done with the commissioner's court and the judge. That's not, I don't control the budgets per se. It's more of the auditor, the judge. Everybody has to approve on all that.
So, but you still have the daily operations of the treasurer's office, meaning you're required to present receipts, deposits and transfers and things like that. Do you have experience doing that?
Yes. Yeah, as I said before, I was a landscaper, and I also did the books and filed all the paperwork and paid employees and made sure that all of everything lined up correctly. Yes.
Okay, do you know how much your annual budget would be for the revenue coming into the county?
I'm not understanding what you mean.
So for example, in Gillespie County, our revenue generated every year is 56 million.
Okay.
That's a lot different than a landscaper's budget. Do you know what Kendall County's budget is?
I'm unclear of that at the moment, but I definitely will look into it.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi.
My question, I don't really, actually, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't understand all of the ins and outs of this, but my understanding is that the treasurer provides checks and balances to the auditor. They don't release funds until the auditor has, you know, until they've shown that everything's gone through the proper channels. So who would hold them accountable if the treasurer position was removed?
Usually it would be like a CFO or a finance position within the county. That's how the other counties have handled it.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, thank you, Ms. Presley. You have now 1 minute for your closing remarks.
Okay. Thank you for everybody for having me speak here. This has been a new experience. Definitely kind of scary. But yeah, I mean, like I said before, I don't plan on taking a pay. I am a person who likes to get things done. I'm kind of impatient about some things. So if I have to wait on somebody else, I might try to move things along a little quicker by getting to the higher level up on some stuff. So I'm definitely motivated to keep this going and get it done pretty quickly. So I really hope that this happens within the first year of being elected, if I was to be elected. And I hope that I won your vote, and I'm here to serve you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Presley. Thank you, panelists. Please, everybody give up a hand for Mr. Sheriff Al.
Who's not on the ballot this year. So we're not gonna ask you to come
Okay, for our next race, please help me welcome up panelists Avery Perry and Tate Manley. Both of our next candidates running for county commissioner are not running against each other, but we have County Commissioner Andrew Wiesen for Precinct 2, and then County Commissioner Chad Carpenter for Precinct 4. Please welcome them up.
Intimidating.
Panelists, take it away.
Who are you? Have I seen you before? Good evening, everybody. It's really an honor to be here. I love this hall. I feel like we're, really at Independence Hall. I want to thank Kara and Rick Green and the staff and all you scholars. Chad and I were able to come here, a couple months ago, and we had a roundtable with the scholars, and they were tough. They really, really grilled us, and we got a critique from Janessa later. She said, well, when you don't know the answer to a question, just say you don't know the answer to the question, right? We teach that to our little kids, but I'm very comfortable with the scholars. You all are like the kids that I helped and lead in 4-H, homeschooled, have a 4-H project, FFA, and so it's really fun to be here tonight. And I don't know the format. What are we doing?
Who are you? So.
And I got some coffee. It's been a long day. So I am Andrew Wiesen. I'm County Commissioner Precinct 2, and somebody said, well, why are you going all the way to Comfort? But I see Steve Menz is here. He's Precinct 2. One of my supporters, Mark, is here, of course, the sheriff. And so I am a commissioner for Precinct 2. Oh, Denise. Oh, I didn't see you. Denise and Wanda, there's 2 more from Precinct 2. Our Commissioners Court acts as a body, and we represent the entire county. A little bit about me. I'm a 7th-generation Texan, but got to Kendall County 33 years ago. And so I stayed home with our kids. I was a 4-H leader, volunteered as treasurer at my church, and helped build the Youth Ag Equestrian Center, which is home to more than 400 FFA and junior livestock youth. I was appointed by the governor to GBRA, so I had experience in dealing with budgets, and I wanted to run for commissioner, and I did. And this is the 4th year of my first term, and I intend to serve you 4 more years, and then, as all good politicians, retire and go away. So thanks for having me, and I'm ready to talk about some really, really important issues with you.
Some government bodies become a retirement home for some people, so you're not even that age, so that's not a shot at you. My name is Chad Carpenter. I am Precinct 4 Commissioner, this area. I ran about 4 years ago, for my position, and I ran because I went through a development issue in the Bernie area where I was trying to get a building permit for a new office. I'm a chiropractor. My wife's a chiropractor just down the road, Comfort Chiropractic, Dr. Carrie Carpenter. Biggest supporter. She really helps encourage me. But it took me 5 years to get through the building process, and I never actually finished getting my permit because they wanted to charge me $1,200 or $12,000 for tree mitigation fees to cut down the trees that were in the way of my new building. So I spent a lot of my time, I was president of the Chamber of Commerce in Comfort. I was also president of the Texas Chiropractic Association, where I went through the legislative process with many bills. In the last 10 years, we've probably accomplished about 8 bills that we got passed. We had one of them this last legislative session get vetoed by the governor, which would have been great for citizens on health care. Most of what I fought was health care freedom. And so, a little bit about me. My dad's sitting here in the back. He's a 30-year retired colonel for the military. Thank you, Dad. So I grew up in a military home, and God has been one of my main focuses in our family. My dad and mom raised me in a home that we put God first. And other things I've spent time in this community is I've been leading youth in Bible study. We also started Young Life in Comfort. I'm very proud of some of those things that we've done. And I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be running for the next 4 years. So I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you, commissioners, for your opening speeches. For our first question tonight, would you both briefly explain what the role of the county commissioners is and how you anticipate to fully fulfill that role to the best of your abilities?
Okay, sure. What's the time on this? Is what, 1 minute? So your county commissioner handles your budget, and what the county commissioner's court does is oversee a lot of things. So all of our judicial, your district judges, your district attorney's office, your county roads and bridge department. We also oversee the budget for the sheriff's office, emergency medical services, our first responders at the fire department, as well as giving money to the Bernie Fire Department for public safety. So it's health, safety, and welfare. We oversee development. We have an engineering office, so there's plating and different development regulations. And so all of that falls under the $91 million budget of Commissioner's Court, which we set the tax rate and adopt every year in September. Oh, and how will I fulfill that? So I've been doing this for 3 years. I show up every day. I ask the tough questions and dig into the issues, and then try to make the best policy decisions that come to our court, which we can only make decisions as a body, not just one of us, but as the entire Commissioner's Court.
In addition to that, we are the liaison between you, the taxpayer, and the court. If you have a development issue where you're trying to get something through the court, it's the commissioner that you contact. And I fight really hard for my residents. If you have something that's a common sense request from our court, or you're trying to get around one of our crazy rules because it's become really, really crazy, our development code. My job is to fight for you and to take whatever you're trying to get passed through our court. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I leave pretty frustrated. How would I continue? Well, I'm already working on legislative changes that are going to help our county in the next legislative session to fight back against battery storage, Esther, as well as developments that we don't want. And I believe in freedom, and I'm not going to have enough time to finish this, but when you have something like Lennar Homes, 1,100 homes camping in your backyard, it has a definite negative impact on your comfort water supply. Those are the things I spend a lot of my time fighting.
Wonderful, thank you guys. Just another quick question before we open it up to the audience. As you guys know, Kendall County is growing rapidly, and with that, with the increase of population comes the increase of home prices, which drives up property tax, which many people are feeling. So how have you guys as county commissioners, I guess, been handling the surge of increase of property tax that people are paying? So trying to keep that low, but also ensuring that the county's budget is maintained to be able to provide for all the county.
1 minute again.
Yes.
Really, really good question. So as you know, everybody's moving to Texas. And with that and the demand for houses plus inflation, we've seen the market value of houses go up. And that's something that is set by the county appraisal district, not the commissioner's court. Having said that, if the county appraisal district doesn't get those valuations up, the comptroller's office then has the legal authority to come in and do that for them. So we have been behind in Kendall County in having that market valuation be reflected in your actual appraisal value. So then we take that value, and then the Commissioner's Court actually sets the rate. And I'm happy to say that this year, we did lower your tax rate a little over 1/2 cent. Is that a lot? Could we do more? Probably, but that's what we did. And I personally voted 3 years in a row to lower the rate, and we got that done. We also cut the budget by about $2.7 million while increasing funding to our fire departments, our sheriff's office, and EMS services. So we, as you said, it was very well framed. Try to do more with less, really sharpen the pencil, but keep those services up for county residents.
The valuation of a house and what its resale value is not the commissioner's, we don't control that. That's capitalism, and we don't get involved in, that's not our deal. That's the free market is going to eventually reset the prices of homes. But what we do have control over is the budget. And I want you to think of this. Every county employee that we add to our payroll means more regulation and more government spending and more tax dollars. And so the biggest way we can continue to help with taxpayers, the appraisal values, is through the property tax rate, which is about 1/3 of your school rate. So the property tax from the county is really not the issue compared to the school taxes that we're paying right now. And that's what legislatively needs to be changed in order for us to really feel true relief as taxpayers in Kendall County.
Wonderful, thank you. The podium is open for questions. All right, if you can state your name and then your question.
Dr. Benjamin Franklin, and the gout just keeps me slow. Sorry about that. My family. Yeah, okay, I won't. I was born in 1706. Can we start there, Rick? My family were candlestick makers, candle makers, as well as soap makers. And candles that was how we got along at night. And we were able to do business and do the other things we had at night. In fact, I even wrote an article once and did all the research on how much money the city of Paris spends on candles every year. And it was a pretty tremendous amount of money. So then Edison comes along and Tesla, and these guys take my ideas about electricity, and they create the light bulb. And man, you look around this, we could sit here all night. All the different kinds of light bulbs are absolutely beautiful. They allow us to do so many things, and what a blessing in our lives. And then comes along this organization called Dark Skies.
Dr. Franklin, is there a question?
Yes, there is.
I love the history lesson.
Dark Skies.
If we could get the question, that would be wonderful.
Thank you. You're a good moderator. This organization comes along, Dark Skies, and they have actually convinced cities and counties to change their laws that would limit the light bulb you could put inside your home. Kerrville just passed that a couple of years ago, and it'll go into effect then. Will you entertain any notions of having the county government limit or decide what kind of light bulbs you can have outside of your house?
So thank you for that question, Mr. Franklin. Actually, Kendall County is in something called the 5-mile Camp Bullis Sentinel Military Installation Radius. And so by federal law, we are required to implement that in the 5-mile radius. So the light bulbs is not inside your house, it's only outside, and it's a particular number of lumens. It has to do with downward facing lights. And the other reason that proponents like this is it has something to do with migratory birds and their flight patterns being affected by lights. And then I guess the third reason that people are proponents of this is because of the beautiful night sky that I grew up with in Texas as a child, when it looked like black velvet with twinkles in there. I hear what you're saying, because why should the government have the right to tell you what kind of light bulb to put in? So again, federal regulation, the county has adopted that in other parts of the county, and we have very specific guidelines in building. We haven't made citizens go back and retrofit their houses, but we ask that going forward that citizens do choose from a list of lights that have a minimal impact. And so I guess I would say to you, where does somebody's right to have a light bulb affect somebody else's right to have a dark sky?
And that's, is having a dark sky a God-given right, or is that, okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you for the great question.
Ooh, that's a tough one. You know, around Camp Bullis, they bring in like $1 billion a year, so I understand the idea around that area. What I don't understand is the area around La Cantera and the Rim are probably the biggest polluters of the bright sky when you look towards San Antonio. I don't personally like someone coming on my property and telling me what I can and can't use as far as lighting. However, that's the rule that we have right now. Do I like it? I don't. It seems to be there's more growing support to continue that. If you go to Tuesday's court, we had something on our agenda to hire a compliance officer. Yeah. Imagine that. You like that? Yeah, you'll do it. So, you know, the common thing is if people would just be respectful to their neighbors, you wouldn't need all these regulations, and that would be the best way to take care of these things. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. I had a complaint early on in my being sworn in from the Comfort Middle School that was actually shining bright lights down on the homes around, and I don't agree with that. Although I don't want them coming on my property and telling me what to do with my property. So I don't like overall the situation that we're in with dark skies, but I do respect my neighbors' rights.
Hi, my name is Barbara, and I do live in the Comfort. I live in Kendall County. I built a guest house about a year ago, and I did have to go through the dark skies thing. Personally, I think having dark skies is great. I love it. I'm not big into having somebody tell me that, but I do see an issue. I've had a house out there for about 15 years, and my sky has gotten lighter, and so I don't get to see the stars. But this is my question. I don't mind doing that. I want to help. How do the gas stations in Comfort get away with it? I come into Comfort from San Antonio at night, and it looks like Disneyland or something. So my thing is, why even have a rule for a few little of my lights on my property, and I'm on a ranch, and they can get away with lights?
So I believe a lot of that depends on the location. So along I-10 that's a federal highway, that's a different jurisdiction, and so we see the big billboards as opposed to something on 46 where you do have billboards and they're supposed to go off at 11 o'clock at night. I see the gas stations. I think they argue that that's a safety situation where, you know, you don't have the right to be safe or unsafe in your house. So I get what you're saying. It seems like that there's two sets of rules depending on the enterprise, but I do know that billboards along state highways and gas stations do have to go off at 11 o'clock at night. But one of the things I did when I first took office is I tried to meet with Lamar, with Clear Channel, with Keller, and get them to the table to turn their lights off earlier, and they're in violation. We have somebody from our engineering department that typically drives around at least once a quarter to try to find out who's violating the lights after 11 o'clock at night. To my mind, you don't really need lights on 46 past 11. And so we actually got one of the billboard companies to come and voluntarily say, hey, you know, maybe 8 or 9 o'clock. So I think some of that is communication and reaching out and trying to get stakeholders to agree on something rather than coming down hard on them with the law.
Okay. Can I just say one more thing? So is your jurisdiction, you don't really have any power to, who has the power to say, who's in charge of who makes those determinations of who's along Interstate 10? Just wanting to know who has that power.
So along the interstate and the state highways, that's the state of Texas, not the county.
So that's a state. So if you had an issue with that, you'd have to go up to a higher level.
Correct, the legislature.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, commissioners, for your answers. This will be the last question from our audience. Please state your name and your question.
My name is Rick. My question is this, and if anybody that's gotten our letter that just went out this week already knows I've endorsed both of you, but I'm still going to give you a hard time and ask you tough questions. What was just asked is the fundamental question, who decides? And so I don't want to leave this light issue because you're going to have a lot of issues that have rights bumping up against each other. And as Thomas Sowell said, there are no solutions. There are only alternatives. So you are always going to have to choose which rights trump the other rights. And in this case, you have a right to your property and to make your parking lot safe so that my daughter doesn't get raped when she's going to her car, versus someone's ability to see a dark sky or a light sky. And you had a guy come to your commissioner's court and give a whole sermon on how it was better in North Korea because it was dark than in South Korea because it's light. This is a communist concept. And even when you go to the Dark Skies website, it uses communist language, light justice. Light justice is a communist term. So I am challenging you and asking you to think through the rights that are being debated here and decide on the side of the landowner and their ability to make their property safe, even in their own parking lots. So please tell us how you decide when you have two different groups with competing rights. How will you make those decisions? Because it's the same with water, it's the same with sewer, it's the same with all of our other land issues, and you've got to have a paradigm. What's your paradigm?
So the citizens are our paradigm. So anytime we have an issue that becomes difficult and it's not a moral issue, that's the rights of the taxpayers to come to us and let's have an open discussion and decide together as what we want. Put it on the ballot. If we have a hot topic issue that we know is going to be contested, that way it takes us out of the equation making the decision. It puts you in the seat of the driver's seat to make that decision. I think that's the best way to deal with some of these hot topics. That's not so easy because that's not the process currently. But I still think, and that's why I do town halls in Comfort, because I do like public input during debate topics. I brought Mr. Green to one of my town halls because there was so much controversy over what this place was about. It didn't go well, but I do believe in having an open discussion so people can give their input before we make a final decision on the court. And I think that's the way that the election process is supposed to be. We're supposed to be representing what you guys want, not what we want just because we're elected. And so.
Thank you, Rick, for that question. And then to the lesson I learned from Janessa, I'll just say, I don't have all the answers and your government doesn't have all the answers. When somebody comes and says, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help you, that's a problem. So I guess what I would say is having the dialogue, having the conversation, because we can put so many regulations into place that it becomes so onerous that we can't enforce them. And we don't enforce them now. And it looks like we're cherry picking. It looks like because we notice somebody, then they're in violation and we come down on them while there's 15 other people doing something similar and we don't know about it. So I guess we need to bring some common sense back to government. I would say with respect to water, I'm a libertarian at heart, and I have my rights until it infringes upon someone else and vice versa. And so we're in a priority groundwater management area. We have a limited resource. This is not a video game. This is not something that we made up. It's real science to show that we have limited water, and we're going to have to do something about that. I met with Cow Creek Groundwater Conservation District yesterday to talk about an outreach campaign, maybe spend $50,000, $75,000 and try to get stakeholders to the table, and that means citizens as well and taxpayers, to talk about what we're going to do to conserve water, because there's no new water sources coming. We can't shut the door. We can't tell somebody they can't develop their property, but we're going to have common sense, realistic conservation, reuse, and rainwater capture. So I kind of got off the subject there. But that's a big one to try to regulate and at the same time to keep property rights. So we will keep working on that. And thank you for your help. Thank you for reaching out and letting us know what you think and come to the table and help with some solutions. I'm honored to represent you. You're the taxpayer, and I never forget that I do work for you.
Wonderful answers, commissioners. Thank you. Just before you guys give your closing, I would just like to ask one more question. So you were talking about water, and we all know water is an issue here. But with all these regulations and the multiple wells you have to drill and the monitoring wells and everything, do all these regulations actually create more water?
Okay, so what you're referring to is we have something called the groundwater, we have a conservation district here. We're considered an APIGMA, which means the state of Texas in the 90s had already deemed our area as a sensitive water area, which means they expect us to run out of water if we're not careful in the future. And so we do these groundwater availability reports. And let me tell you something about that. Not one development has been denied yet based on doing one of those studies. And so what's happening is a small landowner or small business owner is now having to do a $40,000 test and pump 1 million gallons of water over 24 hours or however much water that is to try to comply to a rule that didn't really apply to them to begin with. And I don't remember what your question was at this point, but
do these regulations create more water?
they do not create more water, but we don't have the authority to just say no to a developer. That's the biggest issue. Your local government should have the best and the most authority over something more than anyone else, because you can replace us way quicker than you can replace someone that's in a House of Representatives or a Senate seat. And so yeah, it does not create more water. It never will.
Thank you. Would you like to respond?
Just to echo Commissioner Carpenter, no, it does not create more water, but it's kind of like managing your money. Like, you have to take inventory of what you have to kind of see what you can spend. And so that's just one of the tools that the groundwater district is trying to use and the county is trying to use as well. We're also putting in monitoring wells to try to get better data. I mean, we don't have water sands like we have in South Texas in the Carrizo Wilcox. We have the Trinity, and we have water limestone, little pockets of water. And so we don't know a lot about the actual supply and where the water comes from, but we have seen in this drought, we have seen wells drop and people having to drop their wells and rework their wells because of the water table to going down. So it's just it's not a matter of creating more water, it's sustainability. It's a sustainability exercise.
Okay, thank you for your answers, commissioners. Now for your closing, Mr. Carpenter, would you like to lead?
If I hadn't been elected 4 years ago, we wouldn't have a 391 commission fighting back against battery storage. We wouldn't be working with Kerr County. We wouldn't be working with Gillespie County. We wouldn't be working with our citizens, thank you so much, against developments like Lennar Homes. There's a lot of things that wouldn't be happening on our court because we wouldn't have voted them in place. And so I do think it's vital that you put the right people in office. Most of the issues we deal with in the local level are not partisan issues. These are not Republican or Democrat issues that we're dealing with in the county government. They're citizen issues, and they have to deal with sustainability and long-term sustainability for our current residents that are here. We can't shut the door on people coming in, but I plan on the next 4 years working on legislative changes that put a little bit more power back in the county government. It has to be done very carefully. I already have one bill that I worked through in the last legislative session called HB 4637. Ellen Troxler is the one that filed that. And so we're not working unanimously as a court right now, but we need people on our court that are going to back us up. The ones that are actually trying to do something, we need that support, and we need your support to put us back in that position. So I do appreciate your vote. I would love your support. I have my cards and my signs in the back, so please support me, my friend. Thank you.
Good close, Commissioner Carpenter. I really enjoy working with Chad. He's a delight to work with, and he has a big heart. And I do too, as far as that goes. I really enjoy serving. I can't thank you enough for those of you I see in the audience that have called me, that you've reached out. I know you're praying for me. I've got your support. I hope to get your vote. But no matter whom you vote for, please go to the polls. Go early. Early voting starts on February 17th. That's next Tuesday. And you have nearly 2 full weeks of voting, and then Election Day is March 3rd. It's a democratic process. I have 2 opponents. I'm going to bet money that I'm going to win, so we'll see. But that's a democratic process, right? I don't deserve to automatically get this, and having those 2 opponents has really made me a better speaker, a better commissioner, and a better person all the way around. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Texas, and God bless Kendall County.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists, for our questions, and audience for our questions. Is Mr. Robichaud not here? Is he here? I don't think he showed up. Okay, so our final panel, please help me welcome up Zoe Holmes and Nick Burrell. And now please help me welcome up two of our candidates for county judge in Kendall County, Bisa Martin and Ricky Gleason. Panelists, take it away.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight. We sure appreciate your presence here. You all both have 2 minutes for your opening remarks. Ms. Martin, would you care to start us off?
So my name's Bisa Martin. I came to Kendall County about 20 years ago. My husband and I moved up here, of course, for the beautiful country, then also the schools. I'm a rancher, come from a ranching background, so I understand the importance of hard work and protecting our resources. We've also dealt with highway easements, having to fight the state whenever they come through. We've had to deal with erosion. We've had to deal with people on your property because they just come on through. So I understand that perspective. I'm also an attorney. I'm a transactional attorney. I've done contracts, negotiations, but a transactional attorney is different than an appellate attorney. A transactional attorney sees the risks, negotiates, and then puts forth an agreement so that we don't have to go to trial. So that's a little different perspective than our current judge. I've also done things like negotiate pipeline corridor easements. So whenever easement comes through an area, they come through in a specific area so that they don't take over all the country. I was also appointed to the Real Estate Center by Governor Greg Abbott. And at the Real Estate Center, we do research over all kinds of public information things. This is not just a tool for the real estate industry. I'm a public member. So my oversight has to do with helping do the budgets and stuff. I've also been a director at the Sonora Bank. I'm sorry, the time got me off. I've also been a director at Sonora Bank for 9 years and oversaw the audit and the audit committee. And so I understand audits and where the money comes from and where the money goes to. So I would like to bring that to Kendall County.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for having us out, and thank all of y'all for coming here and being a part of this process. My name is Ricky Gleason, and I'm running for Kendall County Judge. Look, this is the county that I don't just live in. I was raised here. This is where I'm raising my family, where I'm so proud that my kids get to be 7th generation Kendall Countyans, which is an incredible thing. It comes from my wife's side, not mine, but it's an amazing thing to watch them get to be a part of this community. In my professional life, guys, I'm a financial planner, a business consultant, somebody that understands good business acumen, which is really what you're looking for in a county judge, is somebody that knows how to run a company, deal with those employees, and take things to a more efficient and effective level for your county and for your tax dollars to be used in a better manner and a better light. There are a lot of ways that we can cut those costs and run through that. We don't have enough time in 2 minutes to get into it, but it's something that we definitely have to modernize moving forward in this county and bring things into the 20th century where we're stuck back there in the 90s. One of the main things I see here is a leadership problem. I see a problem where your judge is supposed to be the glue that's bringing your team together, right? The people need a good team up there. Disagreement is wonderful, but when it turns into discord and infighting and causing siloing within your community, it's bad for everybody. It starts the process of mistrust. It starts a process of inefficient workings, and we're seeing that in our court where we're running for hours over what we need to be doing. And we need to make sure that the people are able to come to the table and be in a place that they feel comfortable, that their money is being spent wisely, but also that they feel comfortable being in that room and not being ruled over by somebody sitting in the middle seat. Guys, this is the county, like I said, that my family is raising in. It's the county I hope to take my last breath in and be buried in the ground here. And I hope more generations of my family are able to grow up here, and I'm not going to fail them. And in contrast to that, I will not fail you. I'm Ricky Gleason, and I hope to earn all of y'all's votes this evening.
Thank you both. Thank you both so much for that. Our first question to you is regarding an issue that we've talked about a little bit already, and that is the water supply. So we've heard a good bit about the water supply issues in the county and the increasing demand for water as the county grows. So my question for y'all is, in your opinion, does one landowner have a right to more water than another landowner with the same amount of surface property? For example, if my neighbor has already drilled a well on his property, would that prevent me from drilling a well on mine?
So you've just outlined Ozarka. So that was a case that happened, and what happened is Ozarka went into an East Texas county, and they proceeded to poke a hole and suck out a lot of water. So that's why we have groundwater conservation districts now. That's why a lot of counties went to having groundwater conservation districts, so that there would be some equitable distribution of water. And I think you've heard earlier, we're in a priority, Hill Country groundwater priority management area. Since 1999, the legislature has recognized that. So Cow Creek Groundwater District is a very proactive district. They do a really good job. They've had some support from the Commissioner's Court. Primarily what they need is they need a voice. And so I've been involved a lot in passing legislation to get things done, whether it's voter ID, getting Texas out of the electronic registration system. And I have a lot of experience doing that, and that's something that I can bring to Kendall County, advocating for more power within the enabling statute to protect from exactly what you just talked about.
It's a well-worded question. It was very well-worded, and I enjoyed it. It took a minute to break it down in my head. So 100%, Cow Creek does a fantastic job. They're always innovating on new things. If you go over there and talk and sit down with them, you'll learn pretty quickly that we have some of the best water experts in the state sitting right there in that office, and they do incredible work. And so it is about getting behind them and supporting them and making sure that they have the tools and resources and abilities to do what they need. Again, back to what Commissioner Wiesen spoke about earlier, with giving them support for education, to educate the community, to make sure that people understand what those rights look like and what it's all about. But it's all about getting behind those groups that are already there, collaborating with them, supporting them, and making sure that they have what they need to make the job work for everybody. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank y'all.
I wanted that free cup of coffee. So maybe a couple minutes.
Now, this next subject was touched on some by the last panel, but I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts on it. Many local citizens have had some conflicting opinions on economic growth and development in the county, especially with how much has come in recent years. I'd be curious to know, what do y'all believe is the government's role in regulating this growth, if any?
That's an excellent question, and it really comes down to rights, doesn't it? It comes down to property rights and people's ability to do what they want to do on their land, right, to an extent. Now, there's things in place there with the growth, right? We have water. We just talked about the limiting factors that are available there, but it really does come down to property rights. You don't want to stomp on anybody's property rights, because guess what? When we do that, we're stomping on everybody's property rights. So once we have regulations in place, they're very difficult to get pushed back down. So it depends on what your goal is here. Do you want to give up your freedoms on your land, or do you want to have those freedoms that are named in our Constitution as an inalienable right? With that said, I do believe, and what Chad Carpenter and our commissioners have done with our 391 agreements, that we need to expand on that, because there are things that affect the health and well-being of this community that we need to fight back against. But as far as the small business owners that aren't able to get the job done and get things going, is, I think, the symptom here is these larger corporations and groups coming in, because the process is so broken that our locals cannot get done on their land what they want to accomplish.
So it's important, I think, to think, okay, where we're at right now. So with the development, what is the impact on the people that are already here? So what is the what is the profit level of the development, and what are they assigning to the community that they're coming into? So if you're going to come in and you're going to do development, it's only fair that you carry the full burden of the cost of whatever your development is. And I'm thinking that we're not quite capturing that. And that's why it's so attractive for companies to come into this area, is because it's very easy to come out in here, buy ground, throw in a bunch of houses, and then you're left with roads that are congested, not paid for, beyond the development, and you're left with water shortages that they're not paid for, that they have a contract with GBRA, and GBRA is out of water. So you have to, there is the property rights, but at the same time, you have to consider where you are right now and what is the benefit that's coming to the citizens that are here right now.
I want to drill down on that question real quick. So what I hear you saying is that you would be treated differently if you come later. So in other words, you didn't charge the previous landowner when they drilled their well and built their houses for that road cost or traffic congestion or fire department. Everybody that moves here is going to add cost, right? But they're also going to pay taxes to help pay for that. But what I hear y'all saying is that anybody else, and this goes back to Zoe's question, she's saying, do I have the same right to pull water out of the ground that my neighbor did just because they drilled their well 20 years ago? Are my property rights the same? And can I pull as much water as if they got 2 houses, why can't I have 2 houses? And why am I having to spend extra money above and beyond what they had to spend because of what you just described, which is now you're going to try to make me pay ahead of time for the services, but my neighbors didn't have to do that. I think that's the ultimate question, that they're 2 questions combined. So if y'all could address it that way, I'd appreciate it.
So the setup on that concept is that the development that is already here didn't pay for their development. Is that right? But if you're so I guess my concept is those roads are there that they're coming in to use. They've been paid for by the taxpayers already. So I have a different vision of the impact, because I think that whenever you come in, there's already the streets there, there's already the side roads, there's already the sidewalks. They're not paying anything for that. And the people that are coming in new, they didn't pay for that. So in order to allow those developers to come in and do all of their development and not contribute is not really fair to everybody that's already been there for 10, 20 years and built it.
And I think I stated it earlier, but property rights are property rights. They're an inalienable right there in our Constitution. So with that said, it is a difficult situation. These are complex issues, and they're tough to talk about here in a 1-minute section. I mean, it's more of like a 30-minute conversation with folks. So I'll try to do my best. The bottom line is that we're here to protect your property rights, right? We're here to the safety and well-being, all that great stuff. But in the end, property rights are very important because it's your property. It's the most Texas thing I can think of. Stay off my property if I don't want you here, kind of thing, right? So we talked about this earlier with the dark skies, and I think that comes down to property rights issues as well. Telling people what they can and cannot do on their land is really not the government's place unless you're affecting your neighbor, public safety, or public resources that we all kind of have that social contract on, that we want to protect those things and make sure that everybody does have water for the future. But yes, I do believe people have the right to capture their own water and to be able to build their dream and their hopes on their land. Did I answer the question? Okay.
Before I ask our next question, I'd like to let the audience know that if any of y'all have a question for the candidates, you can begin making your way to the back microphone. But I do have one more question before we transition. And that is, with the Kerrville floods still fresh on the minds of the citizens of this county, how would you plan to balance private-run emergency assistance with state and federal aid if a similar emergency were to occur in this county under your tenure? Mr. Gleason.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, what a tragedy. I grew up in this area. I've seen those floods. It was definitely the worst I've ever seen. And first time I've ever known anybody that passed away in something like that. And it really hits home a little bit different. But to the question, the county judge jobs, in my view of this emergency management thing, is coordinating the assets on the ground, coordinating with your state and your regional partners to help your neighbors, right? And I think you asked about private versus public coordination. Is that correct?
Yes, how would you
Okay.
balance the two?
Well, I think that neighbors helping neighbors, right? Just like I said. So that is something that we're all about here in Kendall County. We like to help our neighbors. We like to get behind our neighbors and help them. And so during the flood, you know, our community of Comfort came together pretty heavily to support their neighbors in Kerr County. And honestly, Comfort had a tough go of it. This is a tough question, guys. I'm breaking up a little bit. Sorry. But it really was disappointing to see our current leadership not get behind our local movements, those grassroots movements that are so important in neighbors helping neighbors when we come to emergencies. And so my answer to that is, as long as we're keeping people in safety and in coordination with that we need to utilize everything possible to find those lives that were so tragically lost in that flood so that their families can have closure. It was a tough one to answer. Thank you.
Yeah, so as Texans, you know, we're pretty independent and we want to step in and we want to help when we can help. So I don't see a problem with that. I think that the public should be supported. And I know there's been people from Comfort that has gone to Commissioner's Court and you've only been given 3 minutes to talk. And so I don't think that that's accurate. You know, I believe that, you know, if people from Comfort want to give information to Commissioners Courts, there should be an agenda item where those people can come and give information. They shouldn't be cut off. As far as an emergency, we do have to work within the state. So I know the responsible property owners and responsible Texans in Comfort, y'all would listen to whatever the state forces told you. But at the same time, we're Texans and we can do it just as well. And we probably know the country better.
Thank you. We'll take our first audience question. Please state your name and ask your question.
He looks familiar.
I think so.
Better turn the mic on. Dr. Benjamin Franklin. Since I was chastised by that young scallywag a few minutes ago, certificates of obligation and public finance corporations, very often called public-private partnerships, and are used to go around the voters and put the voters in debt. So when and how would you use those if ever necessary? Thank you.
Will you say that question again? I missed part of that, sorry.
Certificates of obligation are a process by getting money without going to the taxpayers. And you can do that in your county commissioner's court, and as a judge, you can get a certificate of obligation, as well as public finance corporations. They're called PFCs, they're often used for things like affordable housing. So the county goes in with a nonprofit and they each pitch in some money and create a low-income housing project. And so that's where PFCs are used and certificates of obligation as well.
Very good question. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. And thank you for bringing some good entertainment to all of this. I appreciate that. The bottom line is transparency, right? The government should be transparent and open, and everything should be out there in the open court. That's why we have the Texas Open Meetings Act, right? And so anytime you're going to put your citizens, your shareholders, however you want to look at that, in some sort of debt, I believe that they need to have a voice at that table. Pretty simple.
I am not an expert on that. I'm not really aware of your certificate. I believe it's to do different projects, building projects. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. It's often used in emergencies where you have some unforeseen expense, and that's where they're essentially designed to be used, but they're misused.
Yeah, I think you always have to look at any type of debt instrument very speculative, very with skepticism, because, you know, if you can't pay it with your taxes, what are you going to pay the debt with? So I would rather do something along the line of trying to address the issue either through a state legislative grant or a congressional legislative grant. And I think that that's one thing that we're missing here in Kendall County is having enough advocacy, and usually that comes from a county judge, enough advocacy in order to build those relationships and see some of the risks coming that might require that debt. If there was other types of emergencies, you know, we might have to use those. I'm not saying that you couldn't ever use those, but at the same time, I would be very speculative about it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tanya, and I'm from Gillespie. I came here tonight because I was curious. I don't really know any elected officials here except for Sheriff Al. And I want to tell you, you got a jewel of a sheriff, so keep him. He knows his stuff. So what I have gathered here tonight is that I hear a lot of talk about limited government as opposed to big government. Would you agree that's kind of the theme? And I think we've got a real good idea about what the duties and obligations and job of judges and commissioners. Also got a good idea. Budgets, roads, bridges, taxes, but no one has talked about elections. So that's where my question comes. In Kendall County, I believe you guys have moved to county-wide voting rather than precinct voting. I'm curious as to why you would do that if you want limited government instead of big government. And also, why the Commissioners Court chose to take a county election commission or establish one, and that commission or committee hires the election administrator. That makes that election administrator unaccountable to anyone, not to the voters. So my question is, why would you do that? Why would you go to countywide voting, and why would you have an election administrator who's not accountable to anybody as opposed to under the county clerk?
Great question. I wasn't aware of that committee, to be honest with you. And that's something I'm going to look into quite a bit. And
You'll
figure
be
out how
on
we're gonna
it.
do that. Yes. No, I just wasn't aware of that process. As far as the countywide voting, I'm in support of it only because on election day, it is hard. You know, I drive all over this county all the time, not only during this election cycle where I'm doing a lot more than I used to, but I have a lot of clients all over our county, all the way into Kerr and Gillespie. And so I spend a lot of time on the road, and there's been times when that's been very helpful to a lot of folks out there. So I agree with the countywide voting on that, and we'll look into the other matter.
It does take it away from the local level, the precinct level, and it raises it above to a higher government involvement as opposed to the consent of the people. So you might want to look into that.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
So Stacy Decker there in Kendall County, she is very proficient and very efficient, and she writes a manual that a lot of the different counties use. As far as the local control, working with the Kendall County Republican Party, I don't have any experience with the Democratic Party, but the precinct chairs and everything have not had a problem with our countywide voting. So they haven't had any problems with the countywide voting, and then the multiple locations just allow, like if you live in Comfort, but you work in San Antonio, you still have time to vote.
Well, you do have early voting, which is a pretty long time. And then on election day, your precinct is supposed to be convenient to you in the precinct. So, but again, the point is if you have an election administrator who's not accountable to anyone instead of being under the county clerk. So if you do have an issue, you have someone to go to. So that's why I'm asking.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Hi, my name is Brian Presley. I wanted to thank Bisa and Ricky Bobby for coming out tonight. Every time I see your sign, I think of Ricky Bobby on the highway, just so you know. My big concern is this. What is going to stop you when you're in that seat from weaponizing your position to coming after people with property rights? You may know this, you may not, but I was personally attacked on my property, held in contempt of court for no reason for having a youth baseball program in a facility on my property to train youth. Why? So my main question is, why come after me, right? And not go after every single person in the county for the same exact issues because they had a portable building or because they had this or water runoff? What are you going to do to make sure that you don't go after people and attack their property rights and, one, hold them in contempt without due process?
I'll take that as the attorney. So I think that process, well, I apologize for Kendall County for that happening to you, because that was not done correctly. That's one of the reasons I'm running. I don't think anybody should be hauled in like that with a court reporter. And my understanding is that only the judge knew that was going to happen. So my philosophy is, if you've got a problem, it's your problem as far as being the leader. So if we've got a problem with a property owner, we need to make sure that we're communicating, not sending emails, not just sending registered mail, giving them a call, going out there and visiting with them. I don't think there's any instance that somebody should be treated the way that you were treated in Commissioner's Court. And as y'all all know, the judge was reprimanded by the Judicial Ethics Commission for what he did. And so while it was supposed to be private, it got out. And so he was reprimanded, and it was just a horrendous deal. I apologize. I'm so sorry. I will not do that to anybody in Kendall County.
Yeah, I think any decent human being agrees here, and I know Bisa is that. So, Brian, Susie, I know that was horrifying for you and Mr. Eggemeyer to go through a process of like public spanking over there in the Commissioner's Court. And again, it's one of the reasons that I chose to step up and get rid of our incumbent, because whenever you're willing to turn the people's court, a place that you're supposed to come to and know that you can be represented and taken care of, and then you turn that into a criminal court where you play judge and prosecutor, and that you leave your fellow board members, in that case, or commissioners, out of the conversation just to push a point home and show that you have power, is a sad and shameful day for our county, and it's honestly embarrassing. And I wish we could take it back, man. That's a insane bell to ring. I just don't have the words to apologize to you enough, but no, that would never be something that I would do. This is about respect and dignity for the citizens that come before us, and those elected officials that stand before us as well should be treated that way. We don't see that with our current judge. We see a disrespect for the dignity that humans deserve in that courtroom, and that was on display there that night, or that morning, I guess it was, excuse me.
We'll take our last question here.
Okay. Ooh, thank you. I'm Denise Deaver. I live in Precinct 2 under Andrew Wiesian's very, very welcomed and wonderful, warm representation that we get at the county. I've spoken to both of you, and I believe that we have a very big difference between both of your styles. If I'm correct here, or correct me, Ricky, you believe that the CEO style of government in the Commissioner's Court is where you want to be. What I hear from Bisa as that she's going to be the administrator and guidance and hear from the commissioners who are going to represent the citizens. So as I asked earlier to you and to Bisa, where are the citizens going to be in your court when something tough comes along, like the greenfield roads that your supporters want? Ricky, where are we going to be when the tough questions come up, such as has happened in Gillespie County with the best companies coming in, wanting to do deals behind the doors, wanting NDAs signed, when the data center is going to show up? Because we're easy pickings here.
Ask a specific question.
What exactly are you going to do to represent the citizens, and how are we going to get to the table when we have an issue? That's my question.
It's a good question. You're right. CEO role is the way I use to describe it to folks, but a CEO is a face of a county, a representation, somebody that's willing to listen to their shareholders, which are all the stakeholders right here in Kendall County. Every citizen is that voice and that person that needs to be listened to. It's about being a part of your community, going to those meetings, showing up, and listening to both sides of those arguments to understand where your citizenry is at and how they do it. And, you know, as far as the best stuff goes, I'm out there speaking out against it plenty. 391 agreement, everything that we need to get together, 100% support. And I'm so grateful that we had 3 commissioners that actually could step up, and all 3 of them are here tonight, and put their signature where their words are at in protecting this community. And I will 100% support that. I'm not in support of all these roads. The roadways are needed, though. We do have growth. That doesn't mean that I want to build a loop, as a lot of people are leaning towards. That is not the process forward here. We don't need to build these giant greenfield roads, as you're saying, but we do have a mobility issue that we need to address and figure out those constructive and creative ways to do that. And we need to do it ourselves. We don't need to ask the state or some regional group how we do it. No, we need our citizens at the table to show us the direction forward.
So my philosophy is I'm running to serve. And so as that, I would want the citizens to chime in. The Comfort citizens are the ones that brought the 391 to Kendall County. I think that we get a lot of the best ideas and information from our own citizens. I believe that the commissioners, you know, in their different precincts, they all have their own precincts. I think the county judge is the coordinator with that. Sort of like, you know, on a board, you know, the chair of the board. You got to be prepared. You have to do the preparation. You have to make sure that everybody's represented. And it has to be about the leadership where you take responsibility when there's a problem, and you collaborate and you negotiate and you get to a position where it's the best thing that we can do for the citizens. You know, there's solutions out there, and it's not going to please everyone one way or the other, but you just have to make sure that you support those solutions. The current judge didn't support whenever the Bergheim Fire Department wanted to hire off-duty firemen. 3 commissioners got that done, and they said, well, you can't do that because, you know, it violates the nonprofit, was what the judge was saying. The commissioners, some of the commissioners called me and said, can you call the comptroller's office? And I said, get the judge to do it. I had to end up calling the comptroller's office, and within a day and a half, they had a letter that said that it did not violate the nonprofit. So that's the type of collaboration that you have to have at the county.
Thank you both. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate you coming out, because this is probably one of the few places that the citizens in this area of the county got to hear you. Appreciate it.
Did you send a letter to the editor saying that?
Well, thank you all for those great questions. Before moving to closing remarks, I do have one more question for each of you. As you all probably know, we're currently pursuing the incorporation of our community here, Constitution City. We have run into some conflict with the current incumbent, who's chosen not to be here with us tonight, regarding this incorporation. My question to y'all is very simple. Do you intend to support our incorporation, and why or why not?
So yeah, I would have liked for the judge to have been here to answer that question as to why we haven't moved forward with that. It's a complicated conversation, right? And I've been out here, met with y'all, the scholars, and heard kind of where that's at. I think it hinges on the word inhabitant. And I know that our current judge decided that he didn't understand what that word meant and wanted a better definition, but has not followed through with the process of going to the AG to get that done. And so right now we kind of sit in a limbo of not understanding what that word was meant in the code of the state, in the state of Texas code. And it's something that I've been trying to figure out exactly where it lies, but there's really no case law to help guide us. So getting those opinions from our Attorney General, I think, is important because they are the ultimate authority in what that looks like. But we definitely need to figure out what is our definition of inhabitant in the state of Texas in order to do that. I don't know if everybody understands what that process looked like or anything, but it's pretty complex to answer in the 1 minute section again. But in other words, I believe that we owe it to everybody that has a request to make sure that we go through the process correctly and that we adhere to the laws that we are bound by.
So I know, my understanding was I thought they were getting an AG's opinion. So as far as the supporting the Constitution City, I haven't done any background on it. I'd need to look at it. I can't tell you since I'm here. Yes, I'm going to do that because I think I need to review the subject, look at it, investigate it, and see exactly what it is.
Follow-up question.
I knew we were getting a follow-up, Isa.
I'm going to make this real easy on both of you.
Yeah, you're endorsed, so you have to give the real good answer.
So the current coward of the county, I'm sorry, the county judge, refuses to even meet with us and tell us what his definition of inhabitant is so that we can meet that definition. Will you, if elected as county judge, meet with us and do the homework and the research and make a decision, as a leader should, about what your definition of inhabitant is if the Attorney General is not going to give you that definition and bail you out, which the Attorney General is not going to do that. So the law right now allows you as the county judge to decide whether inhabitant is someone that's lived here 2 months, 6 months, is a student here, is here for a month and a half. All of that is totally up to the county judge. And there are cities in Texas that have incorporated where people have only been there for 2 weeks because the county judge supported that definition. So my question is, will you meet with me and our team and our legal team, and will you do the homework and make a decision so that we know what your view of inhabitant is so that we can meet your definition instead of being a coward like the current judge?
Yes, yes, and yes. On all three of those matters, that's the duty of an elected official, right? To meet with their citizens and figure out what they need to get done and then come up with a decision. So yes.
I think you've highlighted a really important point. Yes, I will meet with you, but yes, I'm going to bring your commissioner too, and the county attorney and anybody else that has a stake in it. But a really, really important thing has been there has not been the meeting with individuals. It's not only Patriot Academy, it's also Bernie Independent School District. It's also the chambers. It's also, the current judge has not spent time with the citizens of Kendall County. And I think that is part of it. You got to make a decision, and if people are mad at you, they're going to be mad at you. If they're happy with you, they're going to be happy with you, and somebody else is going to be mad at you. But I think, that's why you run. You run to serve and to make those decisions and to live with them. If you do a good job, you get elected again. If you don't do a good job, you don't get elected again. And so I would definitely meet with you and hear your concerns, but at the same time, Chad, wherever, it would be the whole commissioners. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Predisposed.
Ms. Martin, Mr. Gleason, thank you both so much for coming out and speaking to us tonight. And you each now have 1 minute to deliver your closing remarks. And Mr. Gleason, we'll start with you.
Okay. Hey, guys, thank y'all for being here once again. I think you can tell that our county is at a crossroads here with its leadership. and that we need to do something to fix that. You need somebody there that is willing to collaborate and work with their citizenry, somebody who's going to show up to those meetings with Bernie ISD, with the city of Bernie, with the city of Fair Oaks, with all of the other nonprofit and other local groups that help drive Kendall County forward, from our grassroots efforts all the way to our economic development corporations, to make sure that we have a better future in Kendall County here, and that it's a planned future for that matter, so that we're not having knee-jerk reactions to issues that come up, but that we can respond to those things that are happening. Like I said earlier, my children are being raised here. This is where I was raised. We love this community. We love the people here. And I will not fail you at this. We will have a better Kendall County for the future of our families. Thank you. And I hope I've earned all of your votes tonight. God bless you all.
Yes, I'm Bisa Martin. I'm asking for your vote. As far as professionally, I've done what I've wanted to do, so I would be your full-time county judge. I think Kendall County is at a point now where we need somebody that advocates priority one for Kendall County. I think we're having challenges from the south, from Bexar County. We're having challenges from the outside with the best facilities, and we got to have somebody in the courthouse that can answer these questions. We have to have somebody in the courthouse that will meet with people. And I'm an attorney. I've done a lot of transactional stuff. I bring that legal experience to the job. I've been an appointee. I have a lot of political connections, and I would willing to bring that to Kendall County. I'm a rancher. I know where y'all are coming from. I've been stepped on and trod on and had to put up with stuff. So I can relate to you guys. And I've also been on a bank board. So I understand what it takes to comply with regulations, make sure we have good policies, deal with HR, and I would really appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Gleason and Ms. Martin, for coming out and answering some questions. Would you please help me welcome to the stage Rick Green?
Thank you, Elena. How about a hand for our scholars that did an amazing job hosting this candidate forum? And to our candidates, before I got two more introductions, by the way, but to our candidates, thank you. Did you know this is not as easy as it looks, okay? For them to get up here and take the questions, and some of them never having done that before. I want to especially thank Bisa for, she already knew that I had just endorsed Ricky just 2 days ago, and you still came out here knowing that. So thank you. That's awesome that you came and were part of this. One of our other commissioners in the county is with us, Jennifer McCall. Thank you, Commissioner, for being here tonight. Appreciate that. And a friend of 20 years, Lucy Trainer, whose husband Trey is running for Congress. We're not doing federal offices or statewide offices tonight, but Lucy, appreciate you coming out tonight as well. Our goal at Patriot Academy is to increase civil discourse. We want these kind of conversations, and I know some of us disagree on light justice or, whether or not I should be able to drill a well and take as much water as my neighbor does, which I should be able to, by the way. That's the easy answer, guys. It doesn't mean I can take any more. And just so you know, if we incorporate it, when we incorporate it as Constitution City, we can't draw any more extra water out or do anything different with our sewer. We still got to follow all those laws, okay? It's a way for us to let these students run for mayor and for, in our case, city commissioner is what they're called as a type C. So anyway, it affects only our 177.6 acres, not our neighbors. So I hope that you'll take a closer look at who we are at Patriot Academy and learn more about what we're doing. We're simply teaching civics to people of all ages. We think it's a good idea to study the Constitution of the country that you live in. And we think it's a good idea to know what those rights are when you vote on regulation. And I thought your question really hit the point of the main question on every issue, which is who decides? That's what every policy comes down to, who decides. There is a time for our commissioners to decide. There's a time for them to have rules that we all have to follow because we're a community. We're not anti-government. We're pro-government. Government's a God-created institution. But that question of who decides is vital. And there are jurisdictions for government at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, self-government, community government, church government, all of those things need to be taken into account. We need to stop thinking government can solve everything. So these candidates, I think, gave great answers tonight. I thought they did a fantastic job. I appreciate them coming and being a part of this, and for you as citizens being a part of it. I hope you'll come back and invite people. We're going to try to do more and more events like this. We had one 2 nights ago on what to do with Sharia law. I hope everybody in this room agrees that is a real problem facing our nation right now. We don't want to go the way of the UK. We don't want to go the way of Australia. So we brought in some subject matter experts from that are really the best of the best on these topics, and we're going to do more and more of that on all kinds of issues so that, again, we can have civil discourse. Even when we disagree, we're going to make each other sharper. Patrick Henry, I'll close with this, said at the beginning of his Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech, according to the magnitude of the subject ought to be the freedom of the debate. Only in this way can we arrive at the truth. Should I hold back my opinions out of fear of giving offense, I'll offend the great creator of the universe. Let's have that free debate, and let's have, in this case, these folks are going to affect our property and our lives. So that's a pretty big subject. I want a lot of debate when it comes to a subject that big. God bless you. Thank you for coming and being a part of our candidate forum tonight.
Stood still when he said, John, go do my will. So run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Your hand, working in the dark against a fellow man, but sure as God made black and white what's done in the